You are listening to WCJV Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, New York.
Hey everybody, this is Roger Belt along with Christina Corsetti.
Welcome to the Paranormal Graveyard. Let's take a walk on the other side.
Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of the Paranormal Graveyard, brought to you by WCJV Digital Broadcasting out of Youngstown, New York. Thanks to our lovely owner and producer CJ Moore, not CJ Morris, Cindy John Pierre, my bad, she's gonna beat me later. Anyway, I'm your host Roger Belt along with Christina Corsetti. Say hello, my lovely.
Hello, everybody.
And this okay, it can't be me, I don't think, but no, I know I don't, because I'm not.
I know I don't.
I'm not even in the chat room. Anyway, where were we? Oh, movie night. And what we're doing here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is we're taking movies that are based on actual people or events or facts, etc., etc. And everybody I know has got to be familiar with The Exorcist. How many movies did they make on that one, Christina? 4 or 5?
Yeah, actually, I think so.
Anyway, what we're going to talk about more is really the actual story behind the movie. And
Yes.
it took place in 1949 in Cottage City in Maryland. And contrary to what the movie says, it was not a girl, it was a 13-year-old boy.
Yes, his name was Roland Doe.
Well, that's the name they gave him. I don't think that was...
Oh, they actually don't know his name. That's the name they did give him.
Yeah,
Correct.
because they didn't want to give his actual name out.
Correct. Yep.
Does anybody know what his real name is?
I don't think anybody does.
Well, it's also pretty much known fact that he doesn't talk about what happened to him publicly. He hasn't, as far as I know, even to this day, hasn't talked about it.
It was so disturbing, that's why.
You know, now a little background on this. Neighbors and friends, Dr. Alvin KG, who lived in the area, went to the same school as the boy, described him as quiet, unpopular, not very athletic, but he was very studious. Now, studious to me means that he studied real hard, I guess. He probably, was an A-B student, something like that. Not that that really makes that much difference in the story, but, it does, I guess, lend to his character. Slightly withdrawn.
Yeah, and I guess he either, in later years, too, he suffered from a mental health issue, schizophrenia or Tourette syndrome, from what was understood.
Well, schizophrenia, I guess, would, in my opinion, show signs of something like a possession would. You're just out of your freaking mind.
Absolutely.
But there were other things that supposedly happened that would lean toward the more the possessed part,
And back then, those diseases, they weren't understood that well.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you guys, I can't get in chat room right now, so Christine will have to watch for any questions you guys have.
Yep, that
I
I will do.
apologize for that, but it kept kicking me out, and I don't know what's up with that. But anyway, oh, okay, Christine, if you want to keep everybody going for a minute, let me see if I can get back in here.
Sure, absolutely. About the movie itself, I guess upon its initial release, the film affected many audiences so strongly that many theaters, paramedics were called to treat people who fainted and others who went into hysterics. I guess on the first day of filming, the exorcism sequence, Linda Blair, who plays the girl, delivered her foul-mouthed dialogue so disturbing that the actors actually forgot his lines. It was the Reverend.
Okay.
There you go, you're in.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm back. Hello, everybody in chat over there. Sorry about it. I was lost there for a minute or two, but I'm home now. Now,
And believe it or not, Roger, Linda Blair actually got a lot of death threats pertaining to this movie, and bodyguards had to protect her for 6 months after the film's release.
interesting movie parts and facts here. Most of what I have is on the actual story. I'm glad you have stuff on the actual movie characters because
Yep, absolutely.
that way it kind of splits things up a little bit. When things started going south, or should I say really south, in 1948, the boy's aunt came and taught him how to play with the Ouija board.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I don't know how everybody else feels, but I wouldn't have a Ouija board in my house. You couldn't pay me to have one. Just my thoughts, but
Eight's actually the year they introduced the Ouija board to kids, is the age of 8.
And I'm sorry, but what aunt, uncle, etc. is going to come teach their nephew or niece at that young age how to use something that, in my opinion, is highly dangerous?
I know. You can... You're 21 when you're allowed to drink, but at the age 8, you're allowed to play with demons and spirits, and I don't know. It's just bizarre.
That's just my opinion, okay? So, take it with a grain of salt, but, and so, in itself, that's not a bad thing, I don't guess. Well, to me it is, but, anything can happen. After a few weeks of constantly toying around with the Ouija board, the aunt who had taught the boy unexpectedly died. And of course, they say it was due to natural causes. Well, back then, everything was a natural cause.
Yeah.
You step out in front of a bus, bam, you're dead. It was natural causes. That's weird, but...
Now, everyone's seen this movie, and basically, it's 80% true. There are a lot of big discrepancies between the movie and reality. It was a boy who was possessed. It wasn't a girl, like we know. The possession did not occur in Georgetown, D.C., but outside of Maryland. And the color of the vomit wasn't green, but they said everything else in the movie did actually occur. So that is pretty scary to know that 80% of that movie is what really happened.
From the information I have, there wasn't no 30 gallons of green pea soup that was threw up everywhere.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
That was, I think, added for the special effects of the movie. But
yes.
And the head spinning around, didn't happen.
Now, I actually have some interesting facts, actually. Linda Blair actually injured her back when a piece of the rig broke as she was throwing about the bed, because her spinning the head that you just talked about, that was actually a dummy. Like, you know what I mean? For the special effects.
I'm sorry, but possessed or not, if somebody's head spins around at 360 degrees, every bone in there is going to break.
Pretty much, yes.
That actually isn't going to happen and them survive. Okay?
No.
So
you're going to snap your neck.
Just some little interesting tidbits. And of course, The Exorcist was a big thing. Excuse me.
It scared a lot of people. This movie scared a lot of people.
And for the time that it came out, it was classic, as far as the effects and everything, that they did. But, it's just like you could say the same thing about Friday the 13th or Halloween or, a lot of the other ones. But the times that they came out, they were the top of the heap of frightening. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Well, there's a lot of things that happened on the set that were paranormal. A lot of things were going on. Like The Omen.
A couple of those.
What was that, Roger?
I said, enlighten us about a couple of those.
Well, they're basically the bedroom that they were working in was refrigerated, and it was set with cool, foul air conditioners, and temperatures would plunge to about 30 or 40 below zero. So it actually started to snow on the crew on some parts of the movie that they had to edit. Basically, like a lot of... I'm trying to think here. What else happened on the occasion? The air was saturated with moisture. There was a lot of moisture in the air. People would, hear things. Things would move around on set. You know what I mean? Just strange things that they couldn't, figure out what was going on.
Now, do you think, though, that this was due to the same energy that possessed the boy, or?
Yeah, well, the thing is it happened on other movies, like The Omen. It happened on The Crow. It happens on all these movies where, a lot of things would happen to them on set. So I don't know if it's an energy thing because you're replaying the possessions and what was going on, that it brings that energy, you know what I mean, that they can manifest on and stuff like that. But a lot of these movies, it definitely, a lot of weird things have happened while they're making the movies.
Mary in chat wants to know what the recommended age is on the Ouija board box. It's 10 and up. Okay.
You just checked. Yeah, but they say that 8 years old is the age they introduce it to kids. I don't know why it's 8.
Okay, when Parker Brothers or whoever it was came out with the game, and it was called a game.
Yeah, and it's in the kids section. It's in the kids.
And they sold the kids as a game.
Yes.
I never understood that. I mean, were they that greedy for money that they would do? Surely they had to know what they were dealing with.
Oh, the Ouija board goes way back.
Yeah, so surely they had to have known.
Absolutely.
That this thing was not a toy.
But they allow little kids to play it. I don't understand that at all. It really is mind blower.
I mean, would you go buy your kid a Ouija board? Oh, here's this cute little game, son. See if you can whip up some demons for me.
I know, right? It's not a toy, absolutely. You can invite a lot of spirits and energies through that. It's like a portal.
Exactly. Why would you give a kid something like that Say, here's a nice little toy. Like I said, whip up some demons for me.
Yeah, and kids have an open mind, so they're able to see and hear the other side very more easily than us adults can. So, but actually, when they a film goer saw this movie in 1974 when it was released and broke his jaw on the seat in front of him, he actually sued Warner Brothers and the filmmakers, claiming that the use of the subliminal imagery in the film has caused him to pass out, and when he fell, he broke his jaw on the chair. So they actually ended up settling out of court with an undisclosed sum amount of money.
Those glow in the dark ones.
What, the Ouija's?
Yeah, that's really good. Let's give one of these to our kids and everything on Christmas. Yeah, get up early so it's still dark where you can see it glow.
Oh, you saw that on the chat. I see. Yeah, the glow in the dark ones.
Oh, it's really cool. It puts off an airy light. That makes it even better when you call up something you don't need. I mean, I'm sorry, but when it comes to Ouija boards, I'm just, like a negative Nancy, whatever you want to call it. I don't agree with them. I don't think people should have them. I think they're playing with things they don't understand. I don't care how much they think they understand.
I agree with you.
And what do you do? And people use these things, and this is one of the things that gets me. People, paranormal teams will actually use these things in a client's house for investigation purposes.
Well, yeah, a lot of people do.
Well, if the client has a problem already with spirits, or quote,
I want to open that door, right?
That's exactly what you need to do, is take something in there that can open up a place to bring in more, quote unquote, demons.
And you don't know who you're talking to on that thing. Exactly. You could be talking to a spirit that's lying to you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So they're bad news.
I totally disagree with that. I think any team that would do that is not. They don't have that client's well-being in mind when they're doing that.
No, I agree with that.
I think that's more of a, let's bring this in here and see if we can get something that we can go post on Facebook or Twitter or something like that and make ourselves look real big.
There's forces not to be played with.
I totally disagree with that. I really do.
With the Ouija?
No, the people taking it in a house and doing investigations with them.
Yeah.
I disagree with the Ouija too, but I'm just saying, you shouldn't do that.
So given this child here, Roland, given him the Ouija board, that was not helping his situation.
Actually, it sounded like he already had the mentality to easily go over the edge anyway.
Yes.
Then you give him something where something can influence his already demented state, so to speak. That's got to be like I can't think of the term I want to use. It's like adding poison to an infected area. Okay. It just don't make a lot of damn sense, in my opinion. But anyway.
This boy was tormented. I mean, he had his body was badly scratched and branded. The word hello was printed on his chest and thigh. An image of the devil's face apparently appeared on his leg. A lot happened to this child. And to be so young, nobody should have to go through that, ever.
Exactly. And they supposedly have a diary.
Okay.
That was written by one of the priests that performed the exorcism or helped with the exorcism. That is more factual, I guess, than any other story out there. And when the Booth brothers made the documentary, The Haunted Boy.
Yeah.
They used that diary as a basis. And I actually watched the movie. I mean, the documentary. It was pretty good. Um, but getting back to the point, you got a 13-year-old boy here who's already in a mental state of stress.
Yes.
Bring in the Ouija board, and now this is just me thinking out loud here, but he was withdrawn at school, which probably meant he didn't hang out with other kids. He was a loner. He probably was all up within himself.
Yeah.
So, yeah, give him something like that, right? And he can talk to people that he can't see, which means less, what's the word I want to use? He didn't have to look at him. He could just talk to him. Made it easier on him as far as his mentality about being around people went. So, be pretty easy, it would seem like, to slip into something like that. Not only that, but after weeks of messing with this thing.
Yeah, it's an attachment that turns into possession.
Well, that and the fact that, the entity or whatever that he's talking to after that much time would have probably won over his confidence enough to slip right in and take over, so to speak.
And then the exorcism on top of that is very draining. It's a very draining process.
Well, not just for the victim.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it even says that, he sees so violently during the exorcism that he had to be held down by 3 men. That's how much strength he had in him.
This changed the entire game. Suddenly it was not fun or cute little communication from the afterlife. The family began to doubt that this was from the aunt. And see, they thought that he was communicating with his dead aunt. Which was actually not the case, I don't believe, but that's what they thought. Well, then when things started picking up and getting more intense, I think they realized, hey, he's not just talking to his dead aunt here. He's talking to something,
more sinister. Yeah.
Not good at all. And this was not only recorded either. Furniture was beginning to move around and stuff in the house and stuff like that. Not saying that his aunt couldn't move a piece of furniture around, I guess, but, I don't think it was the aunt. This Dr. KG dude had another story that would make your brain freeze for a second.
Oh, yeah?
KG's father in 1949 was in the boy's house, and he vividly recalled an instance where the boy was sitting in a chair, and then quickly, without any warning whatsoever, he was thrown completely out of the chair and landed multiple feet away.
Oh, wow.
Reminds me of Dusty telling about the house that he went to shut the door and something picked him up and threw him 15 feet out into the yard. You're messing with forces here that it's not like your average spirit in a house, okay?
Yeah, it's not.
We're talking about something that has the energy to literally pick up a person and throw them.
Oh, yeah. It gives you wicked strength.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking major energy,
Yeah, absolutely.
And if that's a dark energy, I don't think I'd want to be anywhere in the proximity. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But if you have health issues or you have depression or you have anything like that and you have a low self-esteem and all that, I mean, that's
Right.
where it feeds off of it. It comes in through your weaknesses.
And it loves the weak link anyway.
Yes, it does.
So if you're not prepared and you're, like you said, you're, in a weakened state and all this and, your mind's not on cue, it wouldn't be, I don't think it would be any problem at all for them to come in and just, just take over. It'd be pretty simple.
I don't know how long he was possessed for. I mean, like you said, he was only 13 at the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there is like 5 steps to possession, so it does take a while before he does become totally possessed to where he would need that exorcism.
Now, this is a point that, makes a lot of sense to me. Is back in 1949, you would pretty much slit your own throat before you let your personal negative information get out to the neighbors and the town folk,
Yeah.
That's just something you didn't want to do. As getting marked as the weirdos on the street or something, and so, yeah, dealing with something like that, you got to figure they didn't want everybody knowing their business, so they're not going to go uptown and say, hey, I got a demon in my house, my kid's possessed, I need some help.
Yeah.
That.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
It was just like a big no-no.
So what do we got next, Roger?
We are, good God, we could go on with this one for a while. I mean, there's just so much information on this. Something about the father being forced backwards into the wall. Father Hugh's chair, that's the priest.
Yep.
With him still inside it, quite literally lifted up and levitated, forcing him backwards against the wall. It was the exact instant that Hughes knew he was dealing with something pre-eternal, pre-natural, something, anyway, diabolical. And I guess that's basically when it's like, yeah, we gotta get this thing out of this kid,
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's just, you could go on and on and on with this and not even touch half of the crap that happened,
Absolutely. Yep.
Now, and when they were doing this movie, did you have any more instances that they went through on the set, or did
Basically, a lot of, let's see, Ellen Burstyn. She received permanent spinal injury during the filming. She was thrown away from her possessed daughter. A harness jerked her hard away from the bed. She fell over and she was screaming in pain. So that scene that they do when that happens actually is her being hurt in real life. And they kept it in the film because it added to the realism of the scene.
you say it seems like everything that has to do with this phenomenon, everything that had to do with that particular exorcism. Even, recreating it for a movie and everything, you're going to have, and I know they made 4 or 5 movies.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how many they made, but I mean, how many, where it's all based on the first one anyway, and then they just take off from there.
Yeah, but the thing is, and this is another thing that gets me about stuff like this, is why would you, if you made a movie based on something like this, and you had all kind of crazy things going on your set, and, people getting hurt, and people,
why continue to do it?
Yeah, why would you continue
because it's a moneymaker.
Yeah,
People
but
want to see that.
well, the people that weren't being affected that were raking in the dough. Okay.
I mean, when people first saw this movie in the movies, they actually like were scared. Like people were walking out of the movie theater. People were getting hurt just by fainting. You know what I mean? People were like it was jaw dropping for them.
Yeah. Okay, everybody, I want to remind you that we are on WCJV Digital Broadcasting out of Youngstown, New York. This is the Paranormal Graveyard, episode number 2 with Roger Belt and Christina Corsetti. Hope you're enjoying it so far. Like I said, there's just so much on this story and the movie and everything, and why in the world would you want to? You know, that's just like if you played with a Ouija board and something bad happened to you, why would you go back and play with it again?
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, why do people do stupid things? There you go. That's the question. Why do people do stupid things? It's just, I mean, I've got pages of information on this one by itself. That's how
much information there is, really.
Yeah, and I probably didn't touch the surface, actually.
Yeah.
But
the next one's my favorite.
Anyway, I think we've done that one pretty good, but there's still a lot more you could do.
Absolutely.
Just saying. Okay. Now I don't have a lot on this next one, but it's interesting anyway. I know everybody's familiar with Psycho.
Psycho, yeah.
Anthony Perkins, the original Psycho. Now, I'm not talking about the dodgeball guy with the remake. And don't get me wrong, I like him as a character in Dodgeball and all that, but I don't think he was suitable for Anthony Perkins' role in Psycho.
To me, I mean, this was a thriller horror movie, and to me, it was kind of a little slow for me. I guess Alfred Hitchcock wanted it black and white for a reason.
Well, yeah, Alfred Hitchcock was one of these type. Well, look at the movie The Birds. It was kind of slow.
Yeah, well, he wanted it black and white because he thought it was too gory in color. And he wanted to make it under $1 million, so he made it black and white. But the movie itself.
Alfred Hitchcock was a genius, okay?
Oh, absolutely.
Did he do this in black and white, I think, as a budget cutter, but also for the effect.
For the effect, yeah. He thought it was too gory in color.
But
I don't see what's so gory about the movie. I understand it's based on Ed Gein and the Wisconsin murders, but it wasn't really based like Texas the Chainsaw Massacre was based on Ed Gein's crimes too.
Yeah.
But that had more of the real actual story in the movie. This right here was just based upon the mother of Ed Gein's crimes.
One of the main facts involving Ed Gein in this, people, is the mother figure in Psycho was modeled after Ed Gein's mother.
Correct. And Alfred Hitchcock himself had a troubled relationship with his own mother, and that is another part where
so you got a lot of twisted mothers here that a lot of twisted brain waves in some of these people. Okay, so Ed Gein's mother was very religious,
telling them what to do,
overbearing, whatever you want to call it. And Alfred Hitchcock had some similar issues of the same thing.
Yeah, and Alfred Hitchcock was forced to stand at the foot of her bed and tell her everything that happened to him.
So you got all this kind of stuff going on, right, in this person's head who is putting a script together for a movie like this. Yeah, very, very, very creepy. Not saying anything about one in the backyard. What? Get off that Ouija board, Mary.
Yes, Cindy is correct in chat. They did
Wait, wait,
use
wait,
Hershey
wait,
syrup.
wait, wait. Hold up just a second.
Sure.
Cindy's saying something, and I'm not sure what she's talking about here. He used Hershey's chocolate syrup for blood in the shower scene in Psycho.
Yes, they actually did.
I didn't know that. What
Yes.
they do? Color it with some kind of food coloring, or
They basically the black and whiteness of the movie with the color of the Hershey syrup, it made it look more real.
why do people always run when something happened and leave the slowest runner behind? Well, duh. I'm sorry, but if you're running faster than me and somebody's after us and I can catch you, I'm tripping your ass.
Well, actually, Cindy actually has a point because Jan, the girl in the movies, the famous shower scene, um, she realized how vulnerable a woman was in the shower, so that at her point, to the end of her life, she never
Yeah,
took a shower again. She always took a bath because of this
I'm
movie.
just kidding about the tripping somebody thing, y'all. But yeah, that and now all these years since that movie, how many of you women, and be honest here in the chat room, look behind that shower curtain when you go in the bathroom before you sit down to pee or whatever? How
I
many
know.
of you? Can I get everybody raise their hand? Thumbs up here because I know you do. If you watch that movie, I know you do. Or if you sit down on the toilet and the shower curtain's pulled and you hear a bump behind that, oh my God.
That usually takes you to a lot of horror movies with looking behind that shower curtain.
But anyway, yeah, that's something, when you think about these movies like that, once you watch them, certain parts will make you do things. Like look behind your shower curtain. And it's like that one joke goes, well, what are you actually going to do if you pull a shower curtain back and there's a murderer in there? Oh, I'm sorry. Pull the curtain
Yeah.
back shut, right, and take off. Pardon me, I didn't mean to interrupt your silence, your meditation there. Go back to what you was doing. But I bet you a lot of women still to this day look behind that shower curtain before they sit down on the toilet. And you can thank Alfred Hitchcock and Anthony Perkins for that. I'm sorry, but Anthony Perkins was Psycho. You can't.
Yeah, he can't. Yeah, exactly.
Remake it just wasn't right.
Exactly.
He was Psycho. And actually, that movie had 4 or 5 movies made.
Yeah, did they have a remake made to it too?
Remember the last one I remember watching is where
Bates Motel or
he's
something?
actually married and he's talking on the phone to this psychiatrist person or whatever on the radio, and his wife's pregnant and he don't want it to turn out like him and blah 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 blah. Even that was a good movie.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I've seen it.
Because his character, he played that character to the max, okay?
Yes.
Actually, I would not have been afraid to think that maybe somewhere in his real life brain, some of those thoughts might have actually manipulated. You know what I mean? Or
what I don't understand is why the actors that play these roles in these movies get threatened or threatening letters after the film's release. Because Janet Leigh, she also did too, and they were so bad she passed it to the FBI. The people were actually found, and she did stop receiving the letters. But even with The Exorcist, Linda Blair, she was getting death threats. It's like, they're just an actor playing a role in the movie. Why are you going to threaten their lives or, get threatening letters? I don't understand that.
Now, Data was saying something about more general generation. Nowadays, people are morbid. They get a kick out of stuff like that. Yeah, you might get a kick out of it, but if you pull that shower curtain back and you went in there with a bad urge to release the prisoner, so to speak, and you pull that shower curtain back and there's a guy standing behind it with a knife, you're going to drop them prisoners on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure y'all get my drift here. So you may get a kick out of it, but I guarantee you that's not going to be a kick you're going to enjoy. Just saying. I know I ain't right in the head, but then again, we all know this.
See, Ed Gein has his own movie out called Ed Gein. I've actually seen it.
What's now?
Ed Gein has his own movie out. I've actually seen it. It's called Gein.
Oh.
And it portrays everything that actually happened in real life, and
getting off the horror scene just a little bit here.
Yep.
Ed Gein also influenced a role in a comedy movie.
Which one?
Everybody's familiar with Joe Dirt, right?
Oh, I didn't know that. Joe Dirt, yeah.
Oh, Bob and Joe Dirt was based on Ed Gein's character.
Really?
The whole thing about wearing his skin around like a Joe Dirt trench coat.
All right, I know the Silence of the Lambs was based on Ed Gein too, but it was only loosely. You know what I mean? They got the ideas from this case. I didn't know Joe Dirt was one.
Yeah, I thought I'd throw that in there, just a little bit off the horror thing, but still creepy when you think about it. It puts the lotion on the skin, it rubs it in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because Ed Gein wore the skin from these women.
Oh, absolutely. He had made human skin bowls, clothing, body parts from the body parts.
He also ate out of their skull.
Yeah, he also ate their hearts. He put the hearts in a saucepan. Masks of human skin. Which actually later they identified as one of the women that was missing in town. So, I mean, it's really wild. But Psycho itself is just based purely on, the relationship with the mother.
I thought everybody enjoyed the little Joe Dirt part. But
yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, Cindy, yep, that was definitely more to it, you know what I mean? It wasn't, it's like different relationships of this case played roles in different movies.
After her death, he became increasingly lonely and buried himself in crime magazines and anatomy books. Now, we're talking about Ed Gein here. He was already twisted.
Yes.
Okay, so then he starts getting into these anatomy books and crime magazine. And why the crime magazine? Because he
just had urges. He had urges that he needed to fill.
Well, the crime magazine, in my opinion, gave him knowledge on how to pull off a murder and not get caught.
Well, he was digging people out of the graves.
Yeah, but he did it in a way where it didn't look suspicious. Actually, he started getting, I guess, when he stopped the woman in front of the store. I think that was basically when he had gotten to the point where he lost control.
Yeah. Well, after one kill, he just couldn't help it anymore. And he had to go for more and more.
Yeah, up until that point, he'd been pretty slick, And then he, I guess, he decided he wanted this woman, and he stopped her right out in front of her store, and where everybody could see him.
Yep.
Then she disappears. Well, that don't make a lot of good sense. The first thing they gonna do is go visit him.
I'm not sure how many people disappeared from town. There was only a couple before he got caught. Because they only showed a couple in the movie.
Police lit a darkened room with a torch. It was a town of hunters, and most locals had been seen gutted carcasses before. Now this guy, he didn't. I think he would hang them up like you would a deer or something.
Oh yeah, they do the
And
do one of the medieval torches, sawing right down the middle, hanging upside down.
Yeah, and that's pretty dang creepy in itself. Okay, but then again, you see a lot of the slaughter movies. You see scenes like that in some of the other slaughter movies, but this guy did it in reality.
Yeah, he only actually killed 2 people, and the rest of it says that the rest of the body parts he got from graves, digging graves.
Yeah, he dug them up.
Yeah, so he only killed a couple people before he got caught. But still, I mean, what he made out of it was just fascinating enough that it's what he wanted to do.
He admitted to killing 2 people, which was Measures Warden and Measures Marion Hogan.
Yes.
He denied murdering the other 8 women whose body parts were also discovered in his house. He had dug up the bodies from the cemetery.
Yes.
And he told the police that he would use the skin from the exhumed corpses as costumes. That's the Joe Dirt part I was telling about.
Okay.
Okay, and wanted to see how it felt to have female body parts. Now that is... How much sicker can you be?
It's a disease.
But what do you do in a case like this, okay? Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't he spend his sentence in some kind of asylum or something?
Yeah, a mental health institute.
Yeah, because he was sick. He really was.
It's like when they get caught and stuff, it's like, do you send them to a hospital or do you send them to jail? But it also says that he served in a Wisconsin prison to the age of 77. He died of complications from cancer.
Not guilty by reason of insanity.
Yeah, so it I'm not sure if he, it says he spent the rest of his life in a health institute, but it also said he died in a Wisconsin prison, so.
Yeah. See, that's the thing about people like that, though, is, and this is one of the things I don't understand, too, about the medical profession or the courts or the powers that be. If you have a person who has done something like that,
yes,
okay, you might say, yeah, he's unstable to stand trial, he's mentally insane, we're going to lock him up in a freaking mental hospital. Okay, now I'm going to use another movie here as my point.
Okay.
Sling Blade.
Never saw it.
The dude killed his mama and her boyfriend, chopped them up, chopped off their heads, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Went to this mental asylum, spent from the time he was a kid until he was, in his freaking 50s.
Wow.
They finally let him out, telling him he's got to go. That he's well, he's got to go.
They let him out? If he spent his whole life in a mental institution, they should not let him out. He can't live in society.
And he thought he was doing the right thing, what was best for that kid and his mama. But he took a lawnmower blade and cut this guy's head nearly in half.
After he was let out?
Yeah.
Yeah, he can't live in society.
Gets on the phone, calls the police, and tells them where he's at. Sits down, starts eating mustard and biscuits. Now, I'm sorry, but, you don't let somebody that did this shit, their brain is mush.
Oh, yeah. You can't let
okay? Especially being traumatized like that as a child. And, of course, according to the story, they didn't let him stay in the house anyway. He slept in a shed in a hole he dug in the ground with a blanket.
Wow.
So he was already, if this were a true story, he would already be traumatized.
You hear a lot about that, actually, these 1800s, in the 1800s, about mental hospitals closing, and they let everyone out. Them just go back into
Well,
society. You can't do that.
usually they would move them to like a newer facility, blah, blah,
I
blah, blah.
know places they let them just
Or in some
walk.
cases, they just turned them out.
Hmm. That's crazy.
And you got people that's in there for doing some crazy stuff, and they're not cured. You're going to turn them out on the street.
Yep.
That's when your kids and your dogs and shit start disappearing.
Oh, absolutely.
Anyway, but Ed Gein was a very
He's a
confused
tortured soul.
individual. Okay,
Yeah.
and he really was sick, and it's not his fault, I don't think. But it wouldn't make a lot of sense. I mean, you when you take somebody that's brain has been conditioned since they were a little kid, you know, and it was
And growing
conditioned,
up locked up.
and it was conditioned to that point to where they did crazy stuff like that after the controlling figure passed away. They're not gonna get well.
No.
Put them in an asylum. You keep them in there for 4 or 5 years. Oh, you're well now. You've done real good in your sessions over here. We're going to turn you loose now. Now, I will tell you this much. I do believe that a psychotic person, they may be deranged, but they're also very smart.
Oh, yeah.
So they're going to play the perfect role and convince you that they're fine and dandy. And then you're going to turn them loose. And what are they going to do? Joe Dirt trench coat.
Yep.
Just saying. So, so the movie Psycho, as we're saying, is based on Ed Gein, and a lot on the mother figure in this.
Yes.
Of course, as everybody knows, Anthony Perkins' character would dress up as his mother and talk in her voice when he would kill these people.
Yes.
Excuse me. Thought I muted my mic there. I guess I unmuted it. Anyway. Now, did Ed Gein kill these women and wear their skin because he wanted to know what it felt like to have female body parts? Was he trying to be like his mother?
Could be. I mean, he started killing people because exhumed bodies were prone to cracking. So he wanted fresh meat. So that's why he started killing people, because he wanted he needed the fresh meat.
He wanted thick skin to wear, yeah.
Yeah, to know what it's like to be a woman.
Yeah. But now, was he doing this to be like his mother? Like Psycho, would dress up like his mother and talk to her and all this kind of stuff. His mother was basically his life, even though she was a controlling freak.
Oh, absolutely.
And once she was gone, he didn't have anybody.
But what's really fascinating is, as much as, gross or disturbing what he did was, if you ever see the stuff he made, it was absolutely fascinating to see the wastebasket made from skin and the clothing he made. It was like it was like brilliance the way he made it. You know what I mean?
Lampshades, and he made
oh yeah,
out of
ashtrays,
all kind of crazy stuff.
Yeah, they took a lot of stuff from him.
And I've seen some pictures of some of that stuff before, and it would have took I think a fair bit of talent.
Yeah, the same thing with Silence of the Lambs there. Buffalo Bill. Buffalo Bill wore the clothing. That was based on this guy too. Buffalo Bill's character.
Okay, CJ says he died in 1977 in Madison in a mental institution.
Yeah.
Okay.
He spent his whole life there.
Well, the rest of his life there. How old was he when they caught him?
I saw the movie.
I saw it looked like he would have been an older man.
Yeah, he just took it as, he was probably in his 30s, 40s when he got caught. I mean, he wasn't doing it for very long before he got caught because people were missing all over town, and they started noticing dug up graves in the graveyard next to his home, and they just happened to stumble into the barn, and they found all the bodies, all the stuff he made, and it was just, they stumbled upon it. They didn't even know.
Lighting up the room in his house, in the back of his house, and seeing the victim hanging,
yep,
in carcasses and pieces, I guess, everywhere. And
yeah, he was like hanging them like deer.
Yeah, but
even
as a law enforcement, excuse me,
just to find that,
as a law enforcement person who's probably dealt with a lot of death and had to recover bodies and this, that, and the other thing. Even with that experience, if you walked into something like that, you would have to lose your dinner. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you would have to be like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And I think this is just my opinion, but I think in a law enforcement person's career, that would be a stumbling block that might make them say, hey, maybe I don't think I want to do this anymore. I don't think I can deal with another scene like this.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was beyond imaginable at that time. Stuff like that don't happen, but it happens.
It's just, and I guess one of the things about making movies on people like this is, it makes for a good movie. But what kind of twisted mind have you got to have to make a movie based on
something that twisted?
Yeah,
I get you.
That,
It's a money maker.
Yeah, it's a money maker, but it's also sick and twisted.
No, I completely understand.
Just saying, I don't care how much money you think you're going to make, you got to be pretty twisted to do a movie on the life of somebody that did that.
Okay, yeah, Cindy just said he was born in 1906 and he killed those women in 1957, which is correct. So he probably was. He was he was
an older man.
Yeah, he was in his 50s.
And,
in his 50s.
So that means that he's had all those years to
think about it and want to do it and urges
up to that state of mentality. Okay.
Yeah. Lifetime.
To study on, the crimes and how to get by with them, I guess, and the anatomy, how to, to cut them up and do all that stuff. Okay, folks, we are coming up on our hard break for about 4 or 5 minutes. You are live on WCJV Digital Broadcasting out of Youngstown, New York. And go fill up your coffee cups, tea glass, wine glass, whatever it is you're drinking. Don't go away. We will be back.
Hi, this is Frank Lee, host of Paranormalities and Ponderings here on WCJV. A lot of you know me as being someone that tends to be a little skeptical, maybe a little sarcastic, and sometimes even salty. But I'm here today to show you a different side. That's the wonderful thing about WCJV Digital Radio, is we are focused on the positive while bringing you so many things that you don't have to deal with that you might find other places, like negativity. And we make sure that our hosts here are very informed and really know that the subjects that they cover on their shows. We don't have to deal with those things that kind of get on your nerves a little. You know, those things that eat away at you every day, and you have to take medicine for it, you know, and you're telling your doctor, I've got to have some Xanax or something, or I'm going to snap and beat someone over the head with a dictionary until the lights go out, and then shove out these stupid mother. And then, I swear, every time you talk to them.
Okay, Frank, that's a little bit rough around the edges.
Oh, I'm sorry. New medication.
I think maybe we should take some deep breaths, and if you could put the axe down, it'll all be good.
Sorry, CJ.
Now, take some deep breaths.
Okay. I'm good now.
Now, I'm going to start you over again. I want you to relax. Take some deep breaths. Okay. And now I'm going to count you in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Hi, this is Frank Lee. You know me from Paranormalities and Ponderings here on the WCJV Radio Network. Well, we're working on promoting positivity and talking about both the spiritual side of things and the scientific. But you know what really pisses me off? That's these people don't know what science is. They say this is science. Well, that's not science.
Frank?
And then this piece of monkey and the
Frank.
and blew sideways.
Listen,
Yeah.
why don't we just wrap it for
CJ.
today, and I'll get back to you tomorrow. Yeah, after the hostage negotiations have ended, and we'll just try it again. Okay.
I'm fine.
Perfect. You have a good day now.
Yes, ma'am.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.
Sorry. Yes. Bye-bye.
You are listening to WCJV Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, New York.
Okay, everybody, we are back. Hope you got your refills and your potty breaks in and all that good stuff. The next movie we're going to talk about is The Entity. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this one. It's based on actual events in 1974.
Yes.
Paranormal investigators Carrie Gainan and Barry Taft worked at a place where they saw moving objects. This movie is based on the same incident where the ghost abuses sexually. Okay.
That's a tough one.
Now, nowhere in the rest of this story after the investigators came does it mention sexual activity during their investigation. No, nothing sexual happened.
Well, I know that Doris Bither, who this happened to, the spirits would physically attack her, and I know that they would become more active when she was drinking.
Well, maybe if she was drinking, maybe some of those were alcohol spirits.
I don't know. But it also, they were more activity when the sun was playing hard metal music. A lot of the activity would happen.
Yeah,
but,
I did read that part.
Yeah. But, you're talking about ghostly rape. I mean, that's hard to believe, you know what I mean? And when she got evaluated by doctors, they thought she was in a state of hysteria.
And she probably was, to a degree
To a
anyway.
degree, because you're being tormented by spirits.
Yeah. Says the investigation on August 22nd, 1974 in Culver City, California was to be like any other one Dr. Tapp had done, believing that this would be an open and shut case. Obviously, it was not an open and shut case. And we should never think we are walking into an open and shut case. That's my opinion. Take it however you will. You don't never know what you're going to run into. Yeah, you may have done 100 typical investigations where, the same old thing, and it's nothing major, and everything's fine and dandy. So you think, yeah, it's just another one of them. Never go into one thinking that it's an open and shut case and that you're just going to go in there and say a few words and the spirits.
No, this is beyond that.
Thing's going to be hunky dory because you don't know that.
Well, what I don't understand about the movie is the reports of her psychological state was made apparent that she reported being impregnated by a ghost, which to me, I don't understand that. But medical tests showed her not to be pregnant, but suffering from an ectopic and hysterical pregnancy. Now, I looked that up, and in a normal pregnancy, your ovaries release an egg into your fallopian tube.
Yeah.
But up in 1 to every 50 pregnancies, the fertilized egg stays there, and that's called an ectopic pregnancy or tubal pregnancy. That's what happened to her. So I don't understand. She had one of those going on, but I don't see how you can be impregnated.
I gotta ask this question since you brought that up.
Mm-hmm.
How in the
I don't know.
heck did a ghost have any sperm to impregnate anything?
Exactly. That's why it's hard to believe. But that's what the movie's based on. The movie's based on, from what I understand, being sexually active with this person, which you hear cases of.
I'm sorry, but can a spirit sexually molest somebody? Maybe. I don't know. Possibly. But they ain't going to get them pregnant because they ain't going to have no daggum sperm.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
So, we got to scribble that one out, Okay. They showed up at Doris Bithers' house not expecting much, and there you go again. Like I said, you never know. Little did they know that this would be one of the biggest cases in the annals of paranormal history.
Oh yeah, this is actually, yeah. This made it.
You could say the same thing about the Amityville house.
Yeah. I don't agree with the Amityville house. I don't think anything happened there. I mean, I've watched first person murders with him, and something happened there, but I don't think it was anything on the paranormal.
Well, maybe not. He might have had him a few mushrooms or something, but anyway, Dr. Barry Tapp and Carrie Gaynor arrived at the house and I guess they met this person, Doris Bither, a petite woman in her 30s. She lived in a small home with her 6-year-old daughter and her 3 sons. And it's repeating itself. As her daughter was 6, the boys were 10 and 13 and 16. Now,
yeah, well, supposedly the children saw these beings.
Now, it claims that poltergeist activity normally happens with a young female.
Well, this is the problem. The problem is she was provoking these beings.
Well, if she...
Okay? That's wrong to begin with. You don't provoke. And
Exactly.
She provoked and yelled and screamed at them. And
yeah.
That's when a lot of this activity was happening. She was drunk. You know what I mean? It was just... It was like chaos. It was absolute chaos.
Well,
and I think that's why it happened to be one of the big cases of history.
Hey, Cat. You could think now that, okay, when you're provoking, you're asking for trouble.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, now if she was drunk enough, could you not hear her say stuff like, well, you can't do anything to me. Come on, bring it on. Show me what you got. You know, same
Yeah,
old.
well, when she was provoking, there was a greenish mist that started to form, okay, and then it turned into swirling, growing ectoplasm that turned into a man's upper torso. I mean, she claimed they were ghosts of Asian men that were doing this to her.
Okay, now I gotta bring.
No, I'm serious.
Now we have two teens that we know nothing about their paranormal lives. If they were bullied or their mom was a tyrant, etc. There is a possibility for poltergeist activity, with the exception of the mom claiming to have been raped by ghosts.
Yeah.
Doris Bither claimed that spirits would physically attack her. The reports ranged from Doris walking around her home and bumping into ghosts. How do you bump into a ghost?
How do you bump into a ghost?
How do you bump into a ghost? If there was a ghost standing in front of you and you would pretty much walk through it, how would you bump into it unless it was solid?
Well, ghosts can manifest to that way because a ghost can push you, can it? It's touching you.
Well,
it's
it can
moving you.
Because it has energy.
Yeah, well, if it has enough energy from the provoking.
Okay, it doesn't mean that it has solid hands. It just means that it has enough energy to push you.
I see your point.
Trying to
So
make
how can you bump into a ghost?
I don't know if I'm making a good point here, but, I'm just saying. And I actually had a guy that up here in town that told me he didn't believe in ghosts. He said, if these ghosts roll, why ain't we running into them all the time? Because they're ghosts. Just saying. You're not going to
understand that.
They could be there and you might be walking all around them, through them, and in between them, and you'd never know it. Unless they want you to know it. Then you might bump into one. But just a little point I thought about, how you going to bump into them unless they manifest into a solid...
being raped by a ghost, sexual activity. You need to have that solid form in order to do that, correct?
Yeah.
It's not like, or that energy of holding someone down. I don't think that's tough. It's just a tough one, you know what I mean? And this type of case always bothered me when they talk about sexual activity with ghosts. Because rape is a very sore subject, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But she was psychokinetic energy. She was psychic, the kids. That
okay, now see,
plays a form and energy to manifest poltergeist activity.
I have a question concerning that also, which we'll get into here in a minute or two. Captain Gaynor was skeptical about all this. Ghost apparitions are a hard thing to prove and collect evidence for. Ghostly rape is even harder to believe.
Absolutely.
Not until they saw the bruises in her inner thighs, testifying that they also seen apparitions, that both investigators started to take heed as to what Doris was saying. Yeah. Doris claimed that the ghosts were of Asian men.
But that is where succubus...
in her house.
Well, you heard of succubus and incubus, yeah. Those are the sexual types of ghosts. Incubus and succubus.
Okay, and another question I have, it says it was 3 Asian men. Okay, why would they go to her house in California and hang out and rape her? Also, it says that the 2 smaller ones held her down and the bigger one raped her.
Yeah.
That couldn't have been much fun for the 2 smaller ones. Why the hell would they repeatedly keep holding her and let the big guy have fun? I gotta ask.
I understand your point, Roger.
Well, I'm sorry, and I'm not trying to make light of the situation, but it just seems like to me they were, not having too much fun in this ordeal. And another thing is, it claims that the kids saw the spirits so often, they even gave one of them a name, Mr. Who's It.
Mr. Who's It, yep. Yep.
Okay, nowhere in here does it say the children were terrified or scared. They even give one a name.
Yep. I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Talking about a lot of different things though in this movie.
So I gotta ask again. Mother is being held down by two small Asian spirits and raped by a bigger one. You can't tell me the kids didn't never know about any of this stuff going on, and why the hell would they be terrified?
Yeah, I'm sure they were terrified. You're talking about unseen forces. You're talking
But it never
about
says
poltergeist activity.
It never says anything in Taft's information or Gainer about them being scared.
Yeah, no, I understand where you're coming from.
So I had to ask the question, why not? If all that stuff was going, and I was a kid, I would be like, pulling the blanket over my head and going, please go away.
Yeah, supposedly all she had to do was call to these beings, and they came. I think it's one of those things where she did it to herself, you know what I mean? She's the one that brought them there. She could conjure them up. She had the psychic, kinetic energy to where all this was happening in the house. Then you have provoking. Then you have unseen forces. I mean, it's nothing fun to deal with, you know what I mean?
Okay, it says, the claim of rape by these beings is one of the most interesting aspects of the case. Doris claimed to be held down by the two smaller spirits and raped by the larger. Her eldest son admits to seeing his mother being tossed around the room. Mm-hmm. In instance, he tried to intervene and was thrown across the room by an unseen force. Now, having all that happen, why was it never said anywhere in here that the kids were scared? I gotta ask that. Why? You would think they would say, the kids were terrified. We had to, remove them from the house or blah, 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 blah. Nothing, no. So, just makes me wonder.
But you know what's even more funnier is no matter what happened in that room that had 30 people in it, and she's provoking and swearing and yelling and things are manifesting, none of it was caught on camera.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to anyway.
Yeah.
Why would you, and this is my opinion as a paranormal investigator, why would you bring 30 people and all these cameras and all this stuff into a little tiny bedroom, which is going to contaminate the crap out of everything?
Well, I don't understand what you're saying. I'm saying, like, nothing was captured on film, and the only thing that came out on pictures was floating lights and some orbs. So you have all this going on, but all you get is orbs on pictures.
Yeah, and I don't buy the orb stuff anyway, but...
No, but, floating arc light. I did see a picture that... there was an arc going over this lady. You know what I mean? It was like a stream of light on a picture, but nothing was ever caught on camera. So, I mean, how could you have something so big in history, one of the biggest cases in history, and nothing was caught?
Okay, Kat, we're talking about the Entity movie and the actual story that it was based on, which was in California, and they no longer live at that place anymore, but her name was Doris Bithers, if you want to look her up. or Bithers.
And here's a good fact: the paranormal and supernatural events, despite in this movie purposely, first took place in 1974, right? It says, which was around 7 to 8 years before this film was made and released. That doesn't make any sense.
Okay, CJ's saying that back in the 70s, she doesn't think that investigations may not have been as sophisticated. Yeah,
Yeah, I agree with
as far
that.
as equipment goes and everything, and technique too, probably. Yeah, I would agree with that. But it reminds me of when I was at Waverly and trying to do an EVP session, and you're there with a group of people who you don't have to stay with them, but they're walking up and down the halls talking and carrying on and everything, whispering, and you're trying to do EVP work. Contamination out the yin yang. So, if you got 30 people in a room, there might have been some stuff going on, but how in the world would you get a decent EVP or anything else when all these people are crammed in there and everybody's out to get the shot, or get the evidence?
Yeah.
It would have to been a fiasco. I would just imagine looking in the window and watching this going on.
I don't see how it can be the biggest case of the paranormal history when nothing is shown for it.
I would think the Exorcist one would have been a bigger case than that.
Oh, absolutely. At least that has more evidence.
And it says that, and I quoted this.
I mean, she had bruises all over her thighs and body. I mean, things were happening in the house.
They had her, and she was probably drunk at the time, I wouldn't doubt, but they had her trying to bring those ghosts out. So, in other words, you got your 30 people in there, and they're having her to provoke the spirits to get them to come out. Now, I'm sorry, but, you don't provoke. That's just one of the things you don't do. And number two, if you're any kind of investigation merit, you're not going to tell your client to provoke them.
Well, to answer Cindy's question, were there any of these people actual investigators? Did anyone know, or were they just photographers? They did have high-speed cameras, and they were all professionals. It says that they were professional cameramen present. They had cameras in there. They had high-speed cameras. I don't say anything about video cameras.
They brought in professional
I don't think it's just photographers.
They also brought in other paranormal investigators in the hopes that they were going to capture, they were going to capture the scene of history, But anyway.
Yeah, no, they didn't.
But
so
they had other investigators there. And then again, that's what I say. You bring in, and let's just say that you brought in investigators from 3 different teams, okay? It would seem to me like, and this is the thing in the paranormal field these days, everybody's competing against everybody else, wanting to get the big thing, because that might get them their lucky TV break, okay? Sorry, but that's the way I see it.
Yeah.
But you got, like, members from 3 or 4 different teams all crammed into this room trying to get that shot before the other guy or girl, whatever. That had to create, some crazy shit. Just saying, but and I can be wrong, but that's usually how it goes today. Nobody wants to work with somebody else. They want to try to outdo somebody else. To their surprise, lights started manifesting around the room. I did not say orbs, I said lights.
Yeah, but they caught lights on the photos.
Okay, they caught supposed quote-unquote orbs.
Yeah, that's all they caught was
As
some
stories
light
kept
and
promoting
some.
the beings, a great smith started to appear in the corner as if it was coiling, like a snake or something. The green mist started swirling and growling, Within seconds, the form of a man's upper torso started to become visible in the mist. Very large and a lot of muscles. So this must be the big guy that was doing the raping.
Probably.
Anyway, pause on that thought for just a second. We are live on WCJV Digital Broadcasting out of Youngstown, New York. This is the Paranormal Graveyard with your host, Roger Belt and Christina Corsetti. And right now we are talking about the movie The Entity and the fact that it's based upon. Muscles is what they reported seeing. The torso of the being did not show facial details, but did show the investigators' muscle.
Still wasn't caught.
Together, this was a male entity. Well, duh. But I'm just, I'm saying, okay, maybe it didn't want to show its face, but maybe it figured if I show them a muscular torso, it's going to freak them out and they'll get the hell out of my way.
No, they're provoking.
Yeah, well, it didn't say that the torso attacked anybody. It just said that it appeared in the mist. Okay, so if it was pissed off because it was being provoked, why wouldn't it attack somebody?
Yeah. Well, actually, it did. It broke someone's arm during the movie.
Anyway,
It says, yeah, go ahead.
I guess the point I'm trying to get across here is that in a lot of these cases, if you stop and think about it and inject a little common sense, you know, some of this stuff you can toss out the window because, like I said, a lot about this case is a little bit to me. What's the word I want to use here?
Far-fetched?
Yeah, because like I said, it never said anything about the kids being terrified. And I'm sorry, but if I was a kid seeing this, especially if I was a kid that was thrown across the room because I was trying to help my mother who was being accosted by ghosts, I'd be freaking out. You know, so I mean, there may be some truth in it, and you know, but I think a lot of it is ad-lib just for, even from the investigator's point, just to make it more exciting. I don't know. And, you know, with a case like that, yeah, if you can make it exciting enough, it's going to, you know, somebody's going to write a book about it. And then somebody's going to take the book and make a movie, and they did. Okay. No matter how many high-speed cameras were set up to capture this, and you brought this up, or that the team even had professional cameramen present, none of this ever came out on film.
Exactly.
And I've always said that if they don't want their picture taken, you're not going to take their picture. Okay?
Yeah, but if you're getting thrown across a room, you should be able to video that, right?
Yeah, I mean, if it actually shows a person, because they're the real body, okay? If a person is actually thrown across the room, that should show up on a camera, whether you see what through them or not.
Well, I don't see how there's 30 people in the room and not one has a video camera. I mean, they obviously had video, so they had to have seen something, but nothing has come out, so I don't understand. It just doesn't make sense to me. Some orbs and some light arcs. Yeah. Well, it says at the very end that no one can speculate.
Light in the middle of the room, as well as some light orbs. Okay, now arc light, that would be actually something besides an orb. I might buy into that a little bit.
Well, it says that Doris Bither has not been heard of since the late 80s and 90s, and her kids have not come forward, so they don't even know what's going on for certain.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, and the part that I was going to bring up, and I made a note of it here somewhere, but I'll go ahead and bring it up since we were on that subject. After the mom and the kids moved out of the house and moved to wherever it was they moved to, no more activity plagued them.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so now that, in my opinion, would blow that whole their psychic thing out of the water, because wherever they went, if they were all that psychic, they're going to draw that energy.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
So, yeah, that kind of blows all that up. But anyway, Dr. Tapp.
We get about
Tapp. Yeah. I'm sorry.
You're breaking up, Roger. No, I was going to say we have, a little bit. We have about 25 minutes left. Maybe we should talk about Fire in the Sky. That's a good one.
And that's the one that I didn't get done, but I watched the movie and actually read some of his personal writing.
Travis Walton.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was passed in 1975. And he was just for 5 days.
Travis Walton, the whole case with that is weird. Because, number one, well, I can understand him being curious and wanting to go up and see what was going on.
Oh, I don't think he wanted to see what was going on. He was pretty much abducted.
Well, he was curious enough to go closer and closer to it.
Well, and then got abducted. Yeah, I understand that.
He wanted to get a better view of the craft. He wanted to see, what it was. And that's a natural thing, I guess. I probably would have done the same thing and wound up naked in the street somewhere a week or so later, too. But,
well, Roger, you said you saw the movie, right?
Yeah.
Well, one of the facts, actually, the abduction portrayed in the movie had nothing to do with his case.
Well, riddle me that.
No, I'm serious. That's one of the facts, is that actually had nothing to do with Walden's account. Basically, he was abducted and then reappeared 5 days afterwards.
Yeah.
And what he said he saw, I have down. Sadie.
Okay, now, a point I want to bring up about the difference between the movie and what I read of his actual stuff that he wrote. In the movie, he appears naked at the service station and uses a phone booth to call his uncle or whoever, cousin, uncle, whatever. But in his actual writings, it says nothing about him being naked, and he appeared on the road, had to walk into this place to use the phone. So, just little difference between the movie and what he actually says. Okay, well, and of course in the movie they had to play it up and make it really exciting, right? Okay,
yeah,
it says nothing.
Actually, the movie portrayed had nothing to do with his account.
Yeah, he in the movie, and I'll bring this up again to show you the difference here. In the movie, it shows him in this spaceship, and he's in this sort of cocoon thing, and he wakes up and he tears himself out of it, and he's looking at this like big pit that goes on forever, and there's all these other bodies, I guess, cocooned around this thing and all that stuff. Well, in his actual writings, none of that ever happened.
Okay.
Well,
he never talked about what happened to him, from what I understand. He didn't want to talk.
Well, he talked about waking up on a table. and there being like 3 entities in the room, and some kind of machine that was, I guess, automated that was coming down and pressing on his abdomen. And at some point, his eyes didn't want to open, but he finally gets his eyes open enough. And he sees these entities, and he freaks out. He comes up off the table, and they kind of back off, I guess, for a second. Well, they start approaching him again. Well, he finds whatever he can find on the counter there or whatever, to try to hold them off. And they end up leaving. And they go out a door to the right or whatever. And he waits on them because he figures they're coming back, and he looks for a better tool to fight with, and all this stuff. He looks out the door, and they're gone. He doesn't see anybody. So he goes out the door and goes to the left, hoping he's going to find an escape route.
And a girl actually came out and put him on a table, right?
Oh, well.
They had humans up there.
Yeah, this is another room that he went in.
Yeah.
Where there was actually 2 human-looking males and 1 female. And they never talked. So I'm assuming that they were some sort of hybrids. And that they actually used telepathy instead of actual voice.
Yeah. Yeah, it says that they had bald heads, bulging, oversized craniums, small jaw structure, underdeveloped that were infantile, thin-lipped, mouths were narrow, but never opened, tiny crinkled lobes of ears, miniature rounded noses with small oval nostrils, no whites in their eyes, they were all black. They had no lashes, no eyebrows.
I agree with what Mary said. She says she has the book and the movie really punched it up. Hollywood really, and they did.
They did, yes.
I mean, they, and of course they do that. Look at the Titanic movie, for Pete's sake. They turned the Titanic movie into a love affair.
Yes. They had to do something with it.
Because it wasn't exciting enough to talk about a ship breaking up and everybody's dying.
Yep. No, I agree.
And that's what Hollywood is famous for. They'll take a dadgum book and they'll tear it up. And it gets so ridiculous sometimes. How much crap they add in there or they change around or whatever. Because it wasn't exciting. The book wasn't exciting enough, I guess. But now, riddle me this, Batman. If the book wasn't exciting enough to make the damn movie about, why in the hell did they want to make a movie about the book?
Good point.
Just saying, why would they want, if they thought that book was exciting enough that they wanted to make it into a movie, why did they feel like they needed to change anything? Well, we can't get 20,000 people into a theater if we don't add a love affair scene in here. And
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
surprised, and of course they did wind up bumping uglies into that gum movie, of course, but just
So why
say,
would you make a movie that had nothing to do with his account? I don't understand.
yeah, thank you.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
And I put up a video today on YouTube just about my version of the short version of the horror movie. And you need to go watch that. It's funny. But it's actually true. The majority of your horror movies these days are basically all the same in so many aspects that it's just unreal. And now I'm not saying this is the case in Fire in the Sky, but usually your horror movies is based on a group of 5 people, which is like 2 couples and 1 loner who has no girlfriend, but usually one of the girls there was his ex. And, it goes on from there. But anyway, and of course, they always stop by the little country store on the way to the cabin in the woods and stock up on food and all this stuff, right? Because you got to do that. But anyway, that's a tale for another day. Now, in reality, if you were working up in the mountains, okay, and it's dark, right, when you're headed home, and you see a glow up in the trees, and personally, me, that's why I'm saying I probably would have been him. I'd have been waking up on the street somewhere a week later trying to find somebody to come and get me because I don't know where the hell I am. Because I'd have to get close enough to see this thing, okay? If it was on the ground, I would probably be one of those idiots that would go up and touch it to see what it felt like.
Well, they also did things to you up there. They put in implants in you, and they want you to do things back on Earth when they drop you back off. You know what I mean?
Mary Strickland said, keywords to remember about a movie is if it says based on, that means they have really reworked it into something else. True. Very, very true. Okay, and they did that with Fire in the Sky. They really, from what I read and everything, about from his actual writings, none of that stuff just about in that movie it happened like they say.
No.
Now, this is just my opinion, okay? If I wanted to make a movie about a case like that, I would want to keep my facts as close to what actually happened as humanly possible.
Yeah, exactly.
And not add in all this crazy stuff just because I want people to get thrilled and excited about it. If you can't get thrilled and excited about a spaceship zapping somebody up and throwing them in the street a week later, there's something wrong with you. Okay? You don't have to add all that stuff. So, you're like I said, you're driving on a dirt road, and I'm assuming it was a dirt road up in the mountains where they were working at. And if I remember right, it was dirt road with boulders, rocks in it, and everything else they had to go across. But you see something glowing up there in the trees. There's no moon out, there's no stars out. So it's just, getting that dusky dark before everything pops out. And you see this thing glowing. So naturally you're going to stop and try to get a view of it, but the trees are in the way. Okay, so
Well, if you know that it's an alien ship, would you really go near it due to the fact of abductions? Do you really want to be abducted? You hear so many stories about what happens up there.
That's a good question. Except
you know what I mean?
These people who has that curiosity, that's like when people post those pictures of those really old, creepy, haunted-looking houses and ask, would you stay the night in there by yourself?
Oh, that's different. That I would.
I want to know. Okay,
we're talking about two different things, though.
To me, it's no different. I just have this excitement. I'm one of these people who will sit outside during a thunderstorm with lightning crashing all around and everything because I want to see what's going on.
Yeah, but ghosts start sticking things in your eyes and sticking needles in you and implanting you with stuff and changing your body parts.
In the sky, above the tree, or behind the trees, yeah, I'm going to go look through them trees so I can get a better view because I want to see what the heck it is.
Yeah, until you get lifted up. Then what are you going to do? Some people don't come back.
Well, have you ever not heard that old saying, you got to die somehow?
No, I understand that.
I guess if that's how I'm meant to go, that's how I'm meant to go, but I'm going to find out before I go.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I just think they're two different things to me. I mean, you saw The Fourth Kind. The Fourth Kind was more factual.
Kat's saying and Mary's saying about being desensitized when you watch movies like this. I can't help but, like I said, why... did they zap him with this ray and knock him out?
They want to do experiments.
Okay.
But all
But
experimental.
it's just as easy to have just beam me up Scotty and then knock his ass out when he gets there.
Yeah, well.
Why would they knock him out? He's laying on the ground and everything, And he lays there long enough for all his buddies to see him and everything before they take off hightailing it to the, to get away or whatever. And then they come back and he's gone. I mean, that's just the curious part of it to me. But like I said, they could have beamed him up. And then as soon as he, appeared there in the elevator or whatever it was that they used, they could have zapped him with a needle or something and that'd been that,
Yeah.
Or a ray or whatever it was they used. They could have done it right then with a less stronger version of it, I guess. But anyway, I was just curious about that. Why did they do that? Now, another question that I think about is, why did they, I'm sure they knew that the truck was there and that the other, life forms were there in the truck. Why would they have not gone after the truck also? Why would they just grab him?
I don't know. Like I said, I really didn't get a chance to see the movie.
And of course the thought in my mind, well, maybe they zapped him and they took him because he saw something he wasn't supposed to see. Well, so
maybe. I mean, from what I understand, not everybody gets taken.
So did the rest of them. So why did they not go after them? That's what I'm saying. But anyway.
Yeah.
Also don't want preconceived notions of horror. Okay. The point being with all this stuff is, you got UFOs, and yeah, I believe in UFOs. I believe in aliens and all that stuff. I'll still say they helped build all those pyramids back in the day. I'll say that till the day I die.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But curiosity killed the cat. Okay,
yeah,
in his case, it didn't kill him, but, he went through a terrorizing experience.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, I would have done the same thing. I say it now, I'd say it again. If I'd have been in his shoes, I probably would have done exactly the same thing, and I'd be the one waking up on the street, having to walk to the nearest gas station or what phone booth or whatever to call somebody come and get me. You guys left me and I'm here, So, Travis Walton, and of course, in some of the stuff in the movie was pretty much right, like about them having to take the lie detector test and all this kind of stuff, and, I guess prove their story. And look at it from their point of view, too, because everybody's busy looking at it from his side. Okay, here you watch it, and you're watching one of your co-workers get zapped by some kind of ray, and it knocks him so many feet backwards and on the ground, and you think he's dead. It would probably be natural, oh, shit, they ain't going to do that to me, and you trump the gas pedal, you know what I'm saying? You take off.
Yeah.
That would make sense to me. Then, of course, you feel guilty, so you go back because you want to make sure that your friend is dead, and if he is dead, you got to retrieve the body. Okay.
Yeah.
So then, once you go back and he's gone, you have to go and notify the authorities that he's gone, and you have to tell them what happened. And they're going to be sitting there scratching their head going, which banana truck did you fall off of, buddy?
Yeah, exactly. But it happens more than one thinks, though. It really does. You hear about this all the time.
Okay, CJ is saying that she talked to Steve Pierce and he stood there and watched it happen, and that when he talks about it, you know he's telling the truth. And I believe that. And like I said, though, you know, what them guys went through may not have been as horrifying as what he was going through, but it was still horrifying for them because they lost their friend and they're being terrorized by the authorities, you know, because they don't believe what they're telling them. So, you know, it's kind of a danged if you do, danged if you don't kind of ordeal. You know, they could have made up the story and they might have believed it. Of course, they go up there and search for the body and there's no body.
Yep.
So naturally, the first thing that goes through their head is, well, y'all killed him and disposed of his body somewhere.
You can see that happening.
And I guess from their point of view, I could see that. I could see them thinking that. So then you got these guys that know the truth and they're trying to tell you what happened and everything, and you're accusing them of doing, you know, some kind of dastardly deed. My head would be like soup.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Cindy said she interviewed him, okay?
Yeah, she's got a 2-hour tape, I think. I think that's what she said.
Yeah, I'd like to hear that interview sometime. I really would.
Yeah, I would too, absolutely.
That movie, I guess, was one of my all-time favorites, and not because of how they sliced it up and made it fit Hollywood style, but the fact that in reality that stuff happens.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and you see the movie, and of course, like I said, you see all the way they tore it up. And then you go and read his actual, his own story. You know, and some of it doesn't seem as terrifying as you'd think it would be, but still, I'm sure it was for him. You know,
they poked and prodded up there.
I gotta wonder also, did they drop him off on the highway like that because he didn't play ball like they wanted him to, and they figured he was a risk, so they better get rid of him? You know, I mean, they could have done it in many other ways. Why would they have just released him onto a highway somewhere?
Yeah.
So I guess that question would always be in the back of my head. You know, I mean, it's just I don't know. A lot of things about that story it's really intriguing, though. And I would love to be able to talk to each and every one of those guys, you know, individually, and number one, to match up their stories, and number two, to get, you know, a first-hand knowledge, I guess, of what actually went on.
Sure.
Starting with Travis and then going through the whole rest of the crew, you know. I think that would be a really, really eye-opening experience.
Oh, absolutely.
Anyway, we got a couple of minutes left, and I don't know about everybody else, but I've had a good old time.
Yes, thank you very much.
You know, we've talked about some really interesting things that have to do with movies and events that they were created from, based upon characters or events or whatever. And just so everybody knows that we will be doing movie night part 2 in the future, because we still have plenty of other movies.
Yes, we do.
In our repertoire, so be prepared for that. Movie night will be back at some point in the future.
Yes.
There's still some things that upset him, and he can't hardly get through these parts, but it's the same with Travis, I'm sure, and Mike. And Mike and Travis were like really good friends, so when he left him there and then, of course, went back to retrieve him, of course, and he's not there, I'm sure it was probably one of the hardest things he ever had to deal with.
Oh, I'm sure. It's a terrifying experience.
Okay, you guys, we got about a minute left, and we're going to, Christina, would you please let our lovely viewing audience here know what's coming up next week?
Next week, basically, we have Cursed. Cursed is coming up. All the cursed objects.
Cursed objects, curses, cursed beings,
Yep.
Curse this, curse that.
Yes.
And I curse every now and then.
Yes, you do.
But, yeah, that's coming up next week. So, everybody be sure to tune in for that. Jerry, thanks for coming. We appreciate it, buddy. Kat, Dita, CJ, of course, Megadoodle, Mary Strickland. I love all you guys. Everybody out there listening that is not in the chat room, we will be here next week, and we will be doing curses.
Yep.
It's been a wonderful time. You are on WCJV Digital Broadcasting out of Youngstown, New York. And we want to thank our producer, Cindy Jean-Pierre. She does an awesome job behind the scenes, everybody. You don't know half the stuff that she has to go through to put these shows on. So thank you very much. And we'll be back next week, y'all. Good night.
I'm Andrea.
And I'm Krista.
And we're back. Starting May 12th on WCJV Radio.
Tune in every Thursday at 8 p.m.
And we'll be discussing everyday witchcraft.
And how to incorporate it into your everyday life.
Be sure to tune into our chat room.
We'll see you then.